yeah, it'd be good if the world was educated better.
Yeah.
You know, like with philosophy, I think, and understanding. You know, even myself, I wish that I had a better education at school.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were born in a sovereign position, say, yeah,
Yes.
like you're king, you know, like royalty, let's put it that way, yeah, to
Yeah.
royalty, you'd probably have the best education ever.
Well, you'd definitely have access to the best education possible, probably.
Well, some royalties get like 5 people living with them, you know what I mean, like teachers and, you know what I mean?
Well, it's just also dependent on whether or not they take advantage of that too. You know, because just because they're royalty just doesn't mean that they're not a human being. So not all of them might take advantage of that. You know, they might have access to it. Doesn't always mean that they take full advantage of it. You know, I'm sure a lot of them do. You know, I mean, they're probably kind of like not forced to, but you know what I mean, kind of guided in that direction. But I think, you know, it's all up to the person whether or not they choose to take advantage of the opportunity that is presented to them, if you see what I mean. Like, you know, it's like even parents. You can send your kids to a great school, but if they're not really focused or not really, like, you know, applying themselves or really taking it serious or whatever the case may be, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that your child is going to end up with a great education. You know, sometimes it's all about just the actual desire of you as a child or as a teenager. It just depends on your desire as to, you know, what you want to achieve from school, if you see what I mean. It's like me, I didn't do so great in school either, you know. I mean, I got a few exams back, you know, but I didn't get to finish school. But I do know a few people that I was, you know, in the same class as me or whatever. When they left school with like 8 or 9 subjects. So like, they were fully like focused and committed on what, you know what I mean, on school, if you see what I mean. Like, their main goal was to leave school with as many exams as possible, and that's what they did. Like, you know, I went on to go to college and university and all that kind of thing, you know. So yeah, it just depends on your application, you know, how much you're willing to commit to, you know.
So I was very frustrated when I was at school, you know.
Yeah.
Being put down on the bottom step, I was very anxious. I didn't like being there. Do you know what I mean? Very uncomfortable.
Okay.
Felt very angry as a child as well.
Yeah.
In a kind of way, you know. I had a lot of, you know, and I ran away from school when I was 15, you know. Before the exams, you know, I just didn't want to be there. I hated it.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, when I was at school in my junior years, I used to get on with the children. I used to play all the time. I used to be very popular. Yeah, they didn't sort of put me down the bottom step. It crushed my mental mind. You know, put me there. It kind of separated me from my, you know, the school I went to. Funny enough, was in where most of the children from my juniors went to, because I moved. All right, and when I went to the senior school, all right, I didn't really know many people. If you see what I mean, they were kind of new to me. But I just felt so uncomfortable in the seniors, all right. I felt like a child that's been killed by a bullet.
Yeah.
You with me? I was a very sort of, you know, like so I think I've said previously, my parents split up at an early age. I was living with my nan. She fed me, clothed me, whatever, and, you know, but no, I didn't really have much guidance, you know, whether it was with my parents, my mum, you know, I didn't see my dad at all, not much at all, you know, only a few times.
Yeah.
In 16 years, you know.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a father guiding me. Teachers, like I said, were, you know, whatever. And I really didn't want to be there. You know, and you get all these top class people putting their hats on and all this and getting all the rewards.
Yeah.
You know, everything's going great for them. And it's like their life, they're taking off in a rocket in a kind of way, their life, you know, and nothing's going wrong for them ever.
Yeah.
You know, but I think sometimes when you have been crushed like I did, like I said to you, I felt like a child, happy as everything, you know, as big.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I felt like I was shot in the heart.
Yeah.
You know, as a you know, very sad as a child, you know what I mean, a bit depressed. you know, I felt like committing suicide a little bit, you know what I mean? You know, I think a number of children feel like this.
Felt kind of like exiled kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like excluded.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
You know, just didn't want to be there, you know, but I had to be by law or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And
I felt like that the last 2 years I was at school too, though. And I think that's why I really started like skipping class and doing all sorts of other things instead of going to class. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, all the subjects that I was interested in, that I liked and stuff, which was a few, like a good 4, 5, 6 subjects that I used to like. I'd go to their classes. Like I used to do like 8 or 9 classes, so like there's sometimes like a few classes a week I'd skip. You know what I mean? I'm not really too interested in that. I'm going to skip that. You know what I mean? And go and gamble. You know what I mean? Try and win some money, or you know, try and go and talk to a girl, or you know what I mean? Just like the kind of stuff you do when you're young. You know what I mean? So yeah, like don't get me wrong. I felt like when I left school, I felt like I got as much education from school as I could have possibly got. You know what I mean? And then a large majority of stuff after that, I taught myself. You know what I mean? I went through.
I think everyone does.
Yeah, I taught most of the stuff that I know in life. I taught myself, really.
I think if you don't teach yourself anything, you're not going to learn anything.
No.
Nobody's going to tell you.
Well, you won't be able to keep up in this modern world in the way everything works. You know what I mean? If you want, in order to keep being prosperous in this world, you have to kind of keep up with what's going on, and you know, otherwise you get left behind. You know, so yeah.
I don't really like watching the news and keeping up with things, you know.
No.
I don't think it's more important.
No.
Really. I don't think it's education myself, you know. I find it more educational actually listening to the birds all day than I do listening to the news. Because, you know, I have better dreams for one, do you know what I mean? Like I said, I used to watch the news a long time ago, you know, as a passion, kind of way, you know, when I'm coming from work and all that, but I wish I didn't now.
Yeah.
In a funny way, you know. I find it kind of a waste of my education.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know, I could be learning better things. You know, I think.
Yeah. When I say you got to keep up, though, I mean more like technologically and other things. You know. But not so much.
Technology, you mean?
Yeah, not so much like keeping up with like the day-to-day runnings of the world and shit that happens, but more so being educated, like you said, a bit self-education, you know, educating yourself about what life's really about, and also keeping up with like how, you know, how things are advancing technologically, you know, because I think people underestimate the value of having the internet and having a mobile phone today, and etc. Like people, it's a wonderful tool, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't realise that they got the world at their fingertips, like, you know, especially with social media, all these different things, like the people have got the world at their fingertips, you know, and there's so many people today making money off their phone every day, literally making money off their phone every day. So, you know.
There are some people, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know.
But like, you know, like I said, the internet. I think it's kind of changed our world in a very it's like I said, my life, yeah, I've learned so much with the internet. I think like if it wasn't invented, I wouldn't know half as much as I do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I've just learned a hell of a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Where before, I mean, before internet used would come in, I just had 4 channels.
Oh yeah,
on
true,
TV,
yeah.
You know, all the odd film to get out, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were telling the truth to anyone, you know, on TV. You know, there's just a lot of advertising and all this or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, some of it was good.
Believe it or not, right, mate?
Some of it's education.
Growing up in the Caribbean, being young, we only had 1 channel, yeah. So imagine when I came back over here, and I was like, because we used to come back over here for a holiday every 4 or 5 years or something. We'd come back for a holiday, yeah. So I remember coming back when we were like 8 or 9 years old, and coming back over here and realising that you got, you know, here in the UK people had 4 channels. It was quite exciting. Can you believe that or not?
Yeah,
you know
well,
I mean? It was quite exciting for me because I can remember coming over here and realising, wow, they got like 4 channels. Like, and in the Caribbean, we've only ever got like 1 channel. You know what I mean? And you might be able to get like the videotapes, like you said, if you're lucky enough that you've got your television and you've got your VHS thing for your videotapes, you know. And you could go to the video shop and rent some videotapes and watch films, like you said, but you only had one channel.
You know, you got to look at how things have just changed in the last 20 years in a way, you know. I mean, I'm 57 now, and when I was 7, there was only one channel, BBC One. You know, and then BBC Two come a few years later, you know, that grew, another company, and then slowly, sort of 10 years later, another company, but they had advertising. You know, completely different company to BBC, you know, because they wanted to, why can't we have a company, you know, whatever, you know, and that was sort of done not by license, that ITV, it's done by advertising. Whatever, nobody pays the license for it. You know, but everyone pays the license for the TV. Which I think is very, not, you know, it's like an extra tax for some reason, you know, like you've got to have a telly, because we've invented it now, and every household's got to have a license, you know, and I think, hang on, well, that's a bit mean, you know, when people ain't got money, you know, it'd be alright if you buy the TV for them and say that, you know, but, you know, that's what I think, like, that's the world, what we built up in the last 100 years, you know, so a lot of people are in acting today, which is another thing with education, you know, you can learn how to act if you want, you know what I mean, you know. You know, there's a lot of careers in the TV world, isn't there, do you know what I mean? Whether it's makeup and lighting or making up these shows, these
graphic
stories,
design,
stories even, you know, or
being a writer.
You know, how many people do you think, really, you know, like worldwide, are in the filming, you know, the TV business? If you
I'd say thousands, in thousands.
I'd say a million. I'd say a million.
Possibly.
Involved with it, you know, there's quite a lot. You've got to think how many, 7 billion in this world, do you know what I mean? But a million people involved.
There's definitely a lot of people involved in different entertainment industries, that's for sure, you know. That's for sure, you know.
You know, just like I say, people pay a lot of money for entertainment.
Oh, of course,
they have done for a number of years.
But
year after year, people have forked out a lot of money for a license, do you know what I mean? And then you go back to the Olympic Games, you know. When they first started those games, they had tickets for them as well, you know. Come on. That, you know, that started sort of like just after Jesus died or whatever, you know. Do you know what I mean? A long time ago. You know, so. You know, people love entertainment.
Oh, of course, they do. They do.
You know. I mean, do you learn anything from watching a good horror? You know.
I guess it depends on the storyline and what really happens in the film. Sometimes you can learn certain things from certain films, you know what I mean, depending on what. Like
depends who wrote it.
Exactly. Sometimes there might be like a moral thing in there to learn about, or whatever the case may be. Well, not all the time. Sometimes it is just a film that has no real kind of like basis. It's just kind of like fantasy world, and people are just doing all sorts of random shit, you know. But yeah, you get the occasional film where you do learn something from, you know. They might have sometimes even in some films they might teach you about some historical things that happened sometimes as well, you know. The film might start off talking about something that happened in this time period, and then, you know, now they're, you know, whatever, like, so.
It's like, you know, Disney films, you know, some of them based on true stories, aren't they? And so on.
Yeah. That's true.
But I mean learning about my camera. So, you know, I only bought my camera last year, and I learned last week that I've got it on a better format, basically now, a better frame rate. You know, I thought to myself, how stupid of me, you know, all this time I've been filming in a bad format, you know. But now I've learned something new.
You could have had a much higher quality.
Well, so now every time we upload an episode, it will be better format.
Hooray!
You know, but stupid me, you know, like I wish I knew a year ago.
Well, not stupid you, mate. You're just you're more educated.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly, you know.
So you're more informed.
Exactly, you know, like I think, well, next year, you know, if I get a new camera, you know, for some reason, a better camera, I kind of understand it better, do you know what I mean? And, you know, you do kind of understand life as you get older.
Oh, of course, you know? Well, hopefully as you get older, you get wiser, you know. Well, hopefully. Not everyone does, but hopefully you do.
Well, when you're younger, you got other people looking after you all the time, don't you? You know, when you're first born.
Yeah, it's true.
But then when you're older, you become independent and lonely. When you think about it, you know. And I think that's another thing to get educated about actually is, you know, like learning how to be lonely, you know, educate yourself about it, you know.
Yeah. Learning to live with yourself.
Yeah. You know, yeah. You know, learning to be happy with yourself is important.
Yeah.
Learning to enjoy whatever you're doing.
That's it.
I think, like, I don't really like doing the washing up, for instance, you know.
It's got to be done.
Well, it's something you've got to learn to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, like, when, I mean, my mum used to teach me how to do it, whatever, when I was little, you know. And now I know to do it, whatever. But, you know, it's not my favourite job, you know.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be
done.
done.
So I dance when I do it, or smile, or, you know, and it's just part of life, isn't it, these things, you know, and you have got to do the things you don't like doing sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
To do the things that you do like doing, you know.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
Like I say, I love learning, you know, and I've been learning about ancient Rome today, whatever. And I know there's always, I can go back to another day, do you know what I mean, learn more about that if I want to, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll probably sort of keep away for that for a while, do you know what I mean, for a few months. I started doing music, do you know what I mean, and learn about that a little bit more, you know. You know, I had to have a break from music, and sometimes I need to sometimes have a break from music.
Yeah.
And I learn about history. You know, do you know what I mean? And I would just want to keep learning as much as I can.
Yeah. About all the things that you're interested in, you know, essentially. That's what it all boils down to, isn't it? It all boils down to we all try to educate ourselves about more and more about the things that we like and we're passionate about.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
You know, when I was sort of like 15, I started getting my sex, you know, my hormones started coming in, you know. And you want to start learning about women then, don't you?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, and women, obviously learning about the male and all this, you know.
Yeah.
You know, life is learning.
Yeah.
We're always learning, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
You know, even when I'm learning how to get old now, do you know what I mean? And learning how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I think, like, life is learning.
Yeah.
Life is education itself.
That's what it is. Life is education.
And I think, like, even when you leave school, you've done many years of lots of writing or whatever, or lines or whatever.
Yeah.
After school, it's only when you start learning about real life, isn't it?
Yeah, the school of life.
Well, when you become independent, because you know you're not got teachers looking at you or keeping an eye on you anymore. Your parents, you're out independent on your own, learning things for yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
And I think that's when it gets good fun.
Yeah.
When you're free to learn for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, where before I was stuck being told what to learn, what to do when I was a child. Do you know what I mean? When they come in.
Yeah.
When I want to, you know, do you know what I mean? But it's got to be done. Do you know what I mean? The child's got to be guided.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, I kind of understand it.
Yeah.
I'm a bit angry actually about my education, big time. You know, I think like these public schools are really making children dumber.
Yeah.
If anything, if you see what I mean. You know, they're not teaching them vital, important things. Like, you know, like learning to love yourself.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Learning how to look after yourself.
Yeah.
Very important. Sleeping.
Yeah.
Very important. You know, this is, you know, education. This is what people need educating about, actually, about sleep, even. You know, we were talking about it last week, and it, you know, a few weeks ago, I think it was, and it was quite an interesting subject. You know, like people don't really talk about sleep.
Yeah, it's true.
But how important it really is, you know, to have a sound sleep.
Yeah.
So you can have a nice day next day.
That's it.
You know, that's how it all kind of works, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
And like, if you can learn how to be happy with yourself, you know, you'll have a far better sleep, I think.
Yeah, sure.
And, you know, enjoy learning more, you know. I mean, like I say, I feel like I'm pretty dumb, really, you know, like, I mean, for instance, I only know one language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are some people that know 5 languages.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's true.
I don't think to myself that I want to know different, you know, lots of different languages. I don't think that's what makes you intelligent in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? I think what makes you intelligent in life it's just understanding what intelligence is really, you know, and like I say, controlling your own learning, you know, your own education, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I think just being aware is intelligent, you know, just having a soul that can hear, that can see, that can smell and taste is something super intelligent. And that can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're talking about education, you know.
Definitely. Yeah. Is there any kind of final words or any kind of final statements or anything you want to leave with the people about education, mate, before we wrap it up and call it a night for this week's episode?
Yeah, there is. Just hope that what we've said, that we've helped educate you a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully some of what we said has kind of like resonated with some people out, you know, whoever out there that's listening to this message, you know, hopefully it's resonated with you in some way, shape or form and kind of helped you in some way, you know, because that's always been our goal from day one, you know, is to, you know, just to give as much kind of like free information and free education and free gain, quote unquote, as they would say today, as possible to people out there, you know, about life and, you know, education, you know, so, yeah.
So, you know, like next year, if we're still doing our shows, I'm hoping that we're going to be a bit more educated by them, you know, a little bit more, you know, that we'll do better shows.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It can only get better and better, mate. You know what I mean? The more you do it, it's like with anything in life, mate. The more you apply yourself, and the more you know, the more you do it, and the more you focus on it, and the more you try to, you know.
I find it exciting.
Oh,
you know,
definitely.
I can't wait to, you know, like in a kind of way next month, I should sort of be a little, slightly more educated than I am today. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully.
That's it. Yeah. And we hope this week's episode has been educational, in some way, shape, or form. Of course.
I've learned something from it today.
Yeah. Yeah. I think likewise. Definitely. You know. Definitely. Can only get better, mate. Can only get better, onwards and upwards. You know, anything you do, you know, the more you do something and the more you apply yourself to it and the more you know, work towards your goal, you know, the better it can only become.
I'm looking forward to the future, do you know what I mean?
Oh,
I'm quite excited, really, and getting wiser than I already am.
Yeah.
It's quite exciting, I think.
Definitely.
You know, I think you should look forward to the future because we're all lucky to have one.
Oh, definitely. Right, if you're lucky enough to have one.
You know, we're lucky enough to be alive, really, aren't we? You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed this week's episode. Of course, all about education. We hope it's been educational, of course. This is the Philosophy Podcast. We will be back again next week with a brand new episode. So stay tuned for that, of course. And yeah, good night. God bless. Stay educated.